Good evening all and welcome to another video on How the Ale. Tonight we are doing a beer from a brewery that I've not tried before. Which one is it? It's this one. It is the Wilde Explicit Emphasis Salted Caramel Stout. And it weighs in at 5.9% ABV and it should be right up my alley. It was recommended to me by a chap I follow on Twitter called Paul. And he's not wrong. I love salted caramel. So this one was a bit of a no-brainer. So it's available from Morrison's at £3 a can. And it says on the beer, it says, we don't need to explicitly emphasise anything here. We just need to let the ingredients do the talking. There's more salted caramel in this beer than you can shake a stick at. And we've also blended it with an array of dark and roasted malts and a touch of lactose to create a truly thick and creamy beverage. Certainly one you'll want to come back to. And I'm going to hold them to that promise. I want to be able to come back to it because I love salted caramel. I love stout. And this particular can of stout is nice and cold. It's been living in a fridge. Why, when I normally have my stouts warmer, do I hear you ask? Well, we've got the cold one and we've got one that's closer to cellar temperature. And we're going to do a bit of a comparison. We're going to try one that's cold, one that's cellar temp, and compare and contrast the difference. And the reason I'm doing this is because lately, with a few stouts and porters that I've tried, I've had them cold, just by sheer accident of sticking a bottle in the fridge and not taking it out in time, and I've really enjoyed the differences. You get a different flavour, you get a different body, there's just different properties to the beer overall. So I want to try and live side by side and see really what it's about. So we are going to start by pouring the cold one into my Northern Monk glass. And then we're going to pour the warmer one into a vocation glass of the same style. So the cold one is going to pour. It's pouring reasonably thick. There we are. We have a good finger of not particularly compact ivory head. It's reasonably consistent. It's jet black. We've got bubbles on the glass, which means I need to clean my glasses better. But other than that, it's a good looking beer. Let's have a whiff. Ooh, smells nice. Come back to the intricacies in a minute because we're now going to pour the warmer one into the vocation glass. And the pour on this one seems, a little more excitable. Okay, let's just top up the cold one. So whereas we had a finger of head, we've got less than a finger of head on the cold one. The warmer one, it's still got a good head on it. It's a little bit more compact. The beer otherwise looks the same, they're jet black and there's no visual difference. Like I say, the only difference now is the head has kind of shrunk. And this one seems to be hanging around a little longer on the warm one in this one versus the cold one, which is it's shrunk a little bit quicker than I perhaps anticipated. So we've got a benefit to having it a bit warmer. The head stays a little bit longer. And you can still see it sitting there quite nicely, sticking around. Let's go for an aroma. So we already had a little sniff. I can get the caramel. It's sweet, it's dark, it's roasted. There's a tiniest hint of coffee, bit of chocolate, but mostly caramel on the cold one. The warmer one I expect to be a little bit more vibrant. Yeah, it's a smoother caramel aroma. Fundamentally the same aroma. I mean, look, that head is staying nicely. It's still there. So if you like to sit and stare at your beer, go for it warmer, because that is lovely. It looks amazing in the glass. Really does. and it smells nice. So, which one do I prefer the aromas of? Well, maybe because this one's got no head left on it. I'm getting a bit more from the cold one. And the aromas are similar on the warm one, but the head is kind of holding them in. But the warm one smells slightly sweeter. I'm not going to score the difference between the two because that's not what we're doing here. They both smell good. You know, you just get a little bit more oomph from the cold one because there's no head sitting on top of it like the warm one. So we are going to taste them next, and we're going to go for the cold one. First impressions. Cheers. Caramel. Simply put, it's caramel. Lots of it. And it's sweet. There is a hint of the dark roast, but the overall is caramel. Surprising given that it's fridge cold. There is roasted malt there, but it really isn't sort of in the foreground. It sits in the background, allowing the caramel just to kind of flow really over your tongue. And that was the cold one. That's quite surprising. The warm one, I say the warm, cellar temp, has still got an amazing head on it. If anything, it's not dissipating at all. It's stuck around like a good stout head should do. It smelled good. The caramel on the cold one was really, really clear. Does it get the same on the warmer one? Let's see. I'm getting more of the roasted malt when it's warmer. I still get the caramel. That's the first thing that hits you. But it's nice. The roasted malt is more prominent in the warmer beer. It's more open, the flavour as a whole. If you remember back in the day when you were a kid and you got like a caramel sauce on the sponge pudding, that's the kind of caramel you've got going on here. It's smooth, it's creamy, it's inviting, it's warming, it's very, very nice indeed, and it's better flavour in the slightly warmer cellar temperature beer. Just is. It's more open. It's more inviting. It's more of what you expect a stout to be. Yeah. There's no bitterness to it whatsoever. It's smooth. It's creamy. And just generally sweet and delicious. So, on the flavour front, which one do I prefer? Do I prefer the warmer beer, or do I prefer the colder beer? I think I prefer the warmer beer. It's just a little bit more open, you get a little bit more of the roasted malt, and that's what I really look for in a stout. I love salted caramel, don't get me wrong, but when I'm having a stout, I want to taste the stout. So I would always serve it a little bit warmer. So we're going to compare the body on the two beers. So cold ones, I've been finding recently, have had a tighter body to them. They're a little bit more kind of pulled together. Everything's just a little bit more sort of together overall. And on this one, you do get a nice kind of thick mouthfeel with a decent body behind it. On the warmer beer, that same creamy mouthfeel is there. It's velvety smooth, just like the cold one, but it's a little bit thinner. And that's what I've been finding across the board with stouts and porters lately. When I've chilled them to within an inch of their life, they just kind of go a little bit like that and just say a little bit more solid and heavier. And it really depends on what you like. If you like them really heavy, then chill it. If you like them just tasty and delicious, have it a little bit warmer. It's lovely. So, we get to the point in the video where we have to decide on a score for explicit emphasis from Wild Child. Brewing Co. Explicit emphasis. What do I think of you? Would I buy you again? Can we say that it lives up to the promise of certainly one you'll want to come back to? Yeah, I would. I would buy it again, happily. So yes, well done, Wild Child. You fulfilled your brief there. What do I like about it? Well, I like salted caramel a lot. As I've said, I'd happily replace my blood with it. I get it in here. I do. It's sweet. It's in the foreground of the flavour profile of the beer. It's more prominent when it's a little bit warmer, but you get that experience of having the salted caramel in your mouth when you have the beer colder. You know, it's a little bit heavy, a little bit thick, a little bit more mouth coating when it's cold. But if, like me, you like your flavours more stouty, more roasted, just let everything just do its thing and kind of pop into your mouth and all over your tongue. You want it a bit warmer. And then you just get the whole experience of the stout and caramel together. I prefer the body of the beer when it's colder, I must admit, and I prefer the flavour when it's a bit warmer. So I could happily have one cold and just sip it slowly and let it warm up. So yeah, there's lots of things I like about it. I like the artwork. I like the fact that it's only £3 and available easily in Morrison's. I like the flavours a lot. Would I rush out and buy it again? Yeah, I would. I would. For the obvious reason, I like a good stout and I love salted caramel. Combine the two and you've got a bit of a match made in heaven, really, in my opinion. The flavours that work really well together and it just works. It's a relatively sensible ABV at 5.9% as well, and it represents good value for money in my eyes. So yeah, I would rush out and buy it again. Is it, though, perfect? I'm going to be truthful and honest and say no, it's not perfect, but it's very, very good indeed. What would I change? I would up the body. I would make it thicker. I'd perhaps add more oats to it, you know, just really elevate that thickness to the next level, and it would be brilliant. I would add more of the roasted notes as well. The salted caramel, whilst I love it, it's at the foreground, and I like a bit more roasted in the flavour. So I would like just a bit more oomph, a little bit more emphasis, maybe a bit of coffee flavour, you know, that kind of thing, that really dark roasted malt, just to balance that salted caramel really, really well. Because it is prominent, like I say, and I do love a good stout to taste stouty, as well as the adjuncts that are going in as well. So yeah, it's very good. It's not perfect. Like I say, excellent value for money, easily available, tasty, tasty beer. And I'm going to give Wild Child's Explicit emphasis 4 1/4 out of 5 on the old Untapped score sheet, which I think is very, very good score. Funky artwork, great beer, and I highly recommend you try it at least once. Maybe do what I'm doing. Try 2 at the same time, or even one after the other. It's entirely up to you. It's good to try these different things and experience different flavours from the same beer. So we're at the point of the video now where I'm waffling too much, and I'm going to say down there are some buttons. You know exactly what to do with them. You've got the like, comment, dislike and subscribe. Choose any combination of them as you wish. If you've tried the beer, let me know in the comments section below. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. And I'm going to go and enjoy the rest of these beers and say this has been the beer. I have been Nick, and I will see you again soon for another video. Bye.